corruption and corruption-related offences arising from a contract between the Ghana Airports Company Limited and a private firm. In an official letter dated July 25, 2025, the Office of the Special Prosecutor invited Paul Adom-Otchere for questioning in connection with an ongoing investigation into a revenue assurance audit contract. Responding to the allegation, the former board chairman insisted he had no direct involvement in the signing of the contract and the investigation.
To do. And why does he want to do that? Because perhaps he has wind of some PDS petition that is going to him, blah, 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 that we are involved in. That's coming later. Okay, so now let's get to the substance of the letter. So what is the story about? What is the whole brouhaha story about? So in his letter, in the letter of the OSP, he says that, the original letter, he says that he's investigating some revenue assurance, something like that. Okay. In my interviews, I wondered why a board chairman is connected with something that has to do with procurement and all that, because under the Procurement Act, board chairman is not a part of it. The Procurement Act doesn't mention a board chairman anywhere. But anyway, this is Kisi Ajabi and the OSP, so no problem. All right. So he says he's investigating something related to revenue assurance audit service of a contract between some company, Evertex. At the board at the Ghana Airports Company, sometime around 2022, the Ghana Airport Company needed money. I mean, there was not enough money in the system, so they needed money. So the board invited the minister to sort of discuss the fees and charges, whether the minister could go through parliament and increase the fees and charges so that the Ghana Airport Company can make some revenue. The minister said no, he can't. Because of the post-COVID Ukraine war, it's difficult to go and tell Ghanaians to pay more. So the board should find ways of raising more money, especially non-aeronautical. These are documented in terms of the policy to raise money through non-aeronautical. It's documented. What is non-aeronautical? If you buy a ticket, I buy a ticket, the airport company gets some money. That's aeronautical. Non-aeronautical is whether they deal in some land or they give somebody space to sell meat pie, or somebody is doing something, or other things that we can do, especially at the cargo area, see how we can get more revenue. All that is documented. So so we were looking for people who can help us in different ways to raise non-aeronautical revenue for the airport, because we're not going to get the fees and charges, because the government policy is that you can't do fees and charges at this time post Russia-Ukraine war. So somebody contacted the board and said that, look, you guys are losing money at cargo, and I can do it. My company can do it. So we said, okay, come to the board and come and do a presentation, which is very normal, very, very normal. So they came to the board to do a presentation and said that this is what we know and this is how it works. The board told them that, yes, you have told us what it is, but there's no real evidence. You haven't given us any evidence that, in fact, we are losing money. And then they said that to do that, we have to work with your management to come and tell you, because we need access to your systems. When we get access to your systems, then we'll be able to tell you in the things that are the revenue that's happened already. So today is July. They will take last year's revenue and show you that this revenue that you got 1 million cedis, you could have gotten 3 million cedis. This revenue that you have 2 million cedis could have gotten 6 million cedis. So the management gave them that, and then they did that. And then the management brought them to the board the second time and said the people have finished their work, so let the board hear them. So the board heard them. And then they seem to know what they are talking about. They seem to show that, yes, revenue was lost and revenue can be gained. So the board told management that, okay, go ahead, which is also normal. The board tells the management, MD and your people, go ahead and work with them and report back to us. So they did, and they went to work with them. And then we continue our meetings. I had forgotten about it. I don't know anything about it. Then the management comes back that they finished with the people. They brought a proposal. It's a workable proposal, but it looks like the proposal, the people are saying that, well, I left something out. When the people said they wanted to do the audit, the original audit, we told them, and I in particular said it at the board meeting, that we can't pay any money. The Ghana Airports Company cannot pay you any money at all to do this work. You have to find your own money to do the audit and come and convince us that we need the service. So they said, okay, they'll do that. They'll pay their own money. This is also in letters that they wrote, that there will be no financial commitment from the airport company. Till today, there's no financial commitment from the airport company, absolutely none. So they went to do the audit and came back, as I said, and then we were satisfied that they can do something. So management should continue to work with them. Management came back and said they brought a proposal and they are looking at it. However, what they are asking for in the proposal is that if they are commissioned to do the work, whatever money they gain for the Ghana Airports Company, on top of what we were getting already, they want 20%. So for instance, if they find that in the importation part of frozen food or something like that, Airport was getting 1 million. But with their work, we now have 2 million. Then there's 1 million that they have added to what the airport was getting. And they want 20% of that 1 million. So this was put to before the board by the management. Who dealt with them? The MD. Who dealt with them on the documents. And then the board said, no, you can't have 20%. MD dropped them to 16%. So it was agreed. And then MD was told that, okay, go ahead and do the things you have to do. Those are due diligence, public procurement, and then get the document done. This was around November. So this is the last thing I heard about that process. Then December came, and then election came. And then soon after election, we were out. By January, we had resigned. All of us had resigned. I didn't know they had signed the contract. Some 10 days ago, Manasseh Azuri called me that he's investigating this matter. And that is, so when the OSP came, then all the lawyers were wondering, why are they working together? Manasseh Azuri is one of the people you've been talking about. Kisia Jabe is one of the people you've been talking about. They seem to be working together for this, but I don't know, and it doesn't matter. Manasseh Azuri called me and said that, what's the Evertex contract? I said, what is that? He said, Evertex, the people doing quality assurance. I said, the people who do the thing SML does. He said, yes. Then I said, I don't know about it. I don't know where it's gone to. Then it was Manasseh Azuri who told me that the contract had been signed by the managing director on 4th of December, 4 days or 3 days to election. And I said, well, okay, I don't know. I didn't know. This conversation is about 2 weeks ago. I didn't know whether the contract has been signed. I didn't find out whether the contract has been signed because it's not necessary. The board has finished its work. Whatever management does, if the management need the board again, they'll come back to the board. If there's a new board, management will come back to the new board and say, the old board did this is the problem we have, so resolve it. When the management is doing contracts, they are doing their PPA contracts under the law, they don't come to the board. They only come to the board when the threshold is beyond. So there are many contracts that the management does that the board doesn't know, they are not aware of. We don't have to be aware of it because the management is doing their work. But when they cross a threshold where the MD doesn't have capacity to approve this, then it comes to the board. So the board is merely there for approvals and also to initiate things that concern policy. So this is I didn't know that the contract had been signed. It was Manasseh Azuri who told me that the contract has been signed. Okay, so the contract was signed, and now the Kisia Jabe and the OSP are calling people at the airport campaign. We've heard all kinds of things, telling them that, did board chairman tell you to do this? Are you sure it's not board chairman who told you to do this? Very bizarre interviews that they've had over this matter. Everybody goes and they tell them, did you know the board chairman? Did the board chairman tell you to do that? And they come out telling their lawyers that, we don't understand. Why are they talking about board chairman? They've had conversations with the managing director. They've had conversations with most of the managers. They've seen the board minutes. Manasseh Azuri has seen the board minutes. Letters that have been written about this issue from the company to the management. It is Manasseh Azuri who tells me. And he sends me texts all the time. Those of you who saw me on YouTube, you heard me say that I've even sent him texts. Manasseh has sent me several questions. I've answered some. I'm still in the process of answering some. But now that the OSP seems to be looking at the same thing, then I'm assuming that perhaps they are working together, which is fine. There's no problem. They need to investigate. But public procurement matters have nothing to do with the board chairman. And I don't have any interest in any of the companies who came there. I don't know who they are. I don't know who is their friend, where they came from. But anyway, the OSP insists that we have to come there today at 3 o'clock. Every lawyer is telling me, look, they want you to come at 3 o'clock, and then they will detain you. They may arrest you. They will say, go and bring this. They will say bail. And one lawyer told me that, how much is the money involved in that? I said, there's no money involved. There's absolutely no money involved in it. There's no money at all involved. Airport has not paid a single money to anyone. Airport has not lost a single money. And the contract has been signed by the managing director. I asked Manasseh Azuri that, when you saw the contract, did you see my signature? Did I witness? He said, no. I said, but if the managing director has signed the contract, the managing director has signed so many contracts with so many people that the board will not know about because it is within her threshold and that of management to do. So that's why I told CTFM and JF, this is a pure witch hunt from Kisia Jabe. But anyway, all I wanted viewers to know is that this is the story. And also Facebook people. So people want to know what happened. Kisia Jabe says we cannot postpone it. We have to come to his office today. So we are going to his office today to see it, to listen to him, and ask him these questions, and he will also ask us questions. Media people who want to cover it, you can come. I don't know whether it's allowed, public hearing is allowed. People have called me, can we come and cover it? What is going to happen? I don't know how they do the OSP work, but I'm going there with my lawyer, and then we'll be there to answer the questions. I'll let you know what happens. Everybody's telling me, though, that Kisi wants to arrest you and keep you there for the weekend to teach you a lesson because you've been talking about him. You have gone to write RTI about him. You said that he has bulletproof cars, and all of those things has hurt him. So he wants to come after you. Well, that's up to him. If that's what he uses the state authority for, it's entirely up to him. That's not my problem. I don't mind. I will continue to do my work, and to say anything wrong about whether it is Kisi Ajabe, whether it is X, Y, Z, W, V, we will have to say it, so long as we can provide the evidence for it. If it is his decision that because we have been talking about him, where there's no concern about board chairman, he will call people and ask them that, say that board chairman did this, say that board chairman, we want you to say that board chairman, we want you to say that, all that gamut of information that all the lawyers are telling me about. I don't know, the lawyers are telling me about it, that this is what is happening, because some of those lawyers have gone there with their clients and they tell me that they are saying, what did board chairman do? What did they tell us about this? Is the questions that the OSP wants to know. It's entirely up to you, Kisi Ajabe. It's entirely up to you. So 3 o'clock, we will be there, and hopefully we'll be back, and then we'll report to you what happened. This is what we wanted to do, just to tell you, so that people don't have a blank mind and they don't understand what is happening. They think something.
That was Paul Adom-Otchere, the former board chair of the Ghana Airports Company Limited. Now away from that to the High Court, and the Human Rights Division of the High Court in Accra has dismissed the judicial review application filed by suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tokunu, ruling that the case constituted an abuse of court process and that the court lacked jurisdiction to entertain it. The ruling delivered by Justice Kwame Amwaku marks the collapse of a second legal challenge by the suspended Chief Justice over the ongoing proceedings for her potential removal from office under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. This judicial review follows an earlier constitutional interpretation case filed by Justice Tokunu at the Supreme Court, which is still pending. However, an injunction application she filed to halt the impeachment proceedings pending the outcome of the Supreme Court case was previously dismissed. Now, former Attorney General Martin Amidu has criticized the Attorney General's decision to discontinue the trial of Dr. Kwabena Dufour and 7 others involved in the Unibank collapse, saying the decision smashed of a textbook example of governance of family, friends, and cronies, and of corruption. Here are excerpts of his latest episode you see on the screen in a bit. So there you have it. It says that the recovery of the proceeds of crime in a criminal trial can only be justified where a crime has really been committed. Otherwise, the process of criminal justice will be used by the state or rogue public officials as an instrument of extortion from persons suspected of financial crimes or doing favor for the government's family, friends, and cronies, as in this case, in the name of asset recovery of percentages of alleged financial crimes without any interest paid on the assets expropriated and profited from 4 years. And it continues that what is the need of the Republic of Ghana extorting monies from Kwabena Dufour and his cohort of accused persons if they do not admit any guilt and the Republic is capable of achieving recovery at civil law? This cannot be criminal justice administration. It is high corruption and abuse of power by the government in the name of asset recovery. For his company, Holder Holdings lawyer told the High Court on 12 February 2020 that the charges preferred against his client as grossly misconceived and lacking any legal basis whatsoever. How come that as Attorney General, those charges now have merit to warrant an opaque negotiated settlement for 60% of the undisclosed total sum, whether with interest or without interest? There's more than meets the eye in the government's decision to resort to the stratagem of nolle prosequi to abort a fair and impartial hearing of the case. Well, Mr. Martin Amidu continues that the government's decision to abort the trial in Republic versus Kwabena Dufo and 7 others under the rubric of the exercise of prosecutorial discretion smacks of a textbook example of governance of family, friends, and cronies that also smells of high corruption. It is important that patriotic citizens step forward and speak the truth to the government to stop playing tricks with the intellect of the electorate with cheap psychological media operations in the name of being accountable and transparent. I have spoken up. What of you, fellow citizen? Let's put Ghana first. So that's the latest episode from the former Auditor General, Martin Amidu. Away from that to some other stories, and the Ghana Armed Forces has launched investigations into the conduct of some of its personnel following an incident of assault on a joint news team and an eyewitness during the demolition of a facility around Spintex in Accra on July 30. According to a press statement released by the Department of Public Relations at the Ghana Armed Forces headquarters, the probe follows a directive from the presidency and aims to determine the facts surrounding what it describes as inappropriate conduct by soldiers during an encounter with journalists on Tuesday, July 30. And let's take a look at that statement. It says that in line with the directive from the presidency, the Ghana Armed Forces wishes to inform the general public that investigations have begun into the inappropriate conduct of some soldiers during an encounter with some journalists around Spintex in Accra today, or that was yesterday, July 30, as a statement was released. The Ghana Armed Forces wishes to assure the general public that the investigations will be thorough and those found culpable will be dealt with accordingly. The Armed Forces remains professional and will do everything possible to maintain its known high standards. The statement from the Ghana Armed Forces. Wait and see what it becomes. Now to the northern region, and some youth in the region are demanding the immediate withdrawal of Engineer John Yamwa as Managing Director of NETCO over his alleged disrespect towards the overlord of the Dagban Kingdom. Expressing their displeasure over the behavior of the NETCO MD, some official vehicles of the company were seized by the youth and sent to the Gukbenas Palace in Tamale. Let's now connect to our correspondent in the area, Al-Hassan D. Baba, for more on this. D. Baba, thank you very much for joining us on the news. Now, tell us, what exactly are they saying culminates disrespect from the MD to the overlord?
All right. Good afternoon to our viewers across the world. Yes, yesterday, that was in the late hours of yesterday, youth within Tamale came out on the streets of Tamale and seized about 3 vehicles from the NETCO and VRA, and they were sent to the Palace of Gutiana. And their reason for doing so, according to them, was the fact that the acting MD is disrespecting the overlord of Dagbon because, according to them, after the MD was appointed, he was asked, he started doing some reshuffles within his office, which was trying to create some tension within the northern region, of which he was asked by the overlord not to continue with the reshuffle, to which he agreed. But unfortunately, he came back home and continued with the reshuffle, which didn't go down well with the overlord of Dagbon, who asked that he should explain to him why he did that. But according to the information we are picking, the MD never did that, which did not go down well with the youth. And they are saying that the MD is always disrespecting leaders within the northern region, even since when he was not the MD. And for that matter, they don't want to have him as MD of NETCO or VRA within the region again. So they are adding that if nothing is done about it, there's going to be series of demonstrations within the northern region against him, because they are not ready to accept anybody within northern region or even beyond who will disrespect the overlord of Dagbon Kingdom. So they are calling on leadership of NETCO, Energy Ministry, or whosoever is concerned to ensure that Engineer John Amwa is immediately transferred or removed as MD of NETCO within some few period of time, because they are not going to accept anything other than what they are telling us. Fortunately, this morning, a delegation from the overlord were sent to Tamale and to the Gutana Palace, of which they called the youth and told them that the Yana is very grateful for what they did, and he's very happy that they are ready to fight for the dignity of Dagbon, or the kingship of Dagbon. But he's appealing to them to return the vehicles to VRA so that they can continue working. But he assured them that he's not going to leave it there. He will ensure that what they are demanding is done, because a disrespect to him is a disrespect to the whole of the Dagbon kingdom. And for that matter, he's appealing to them to return the vehicles to the NETCO to continue with their operations. So the chiefs within Tamale gathered at the Gutana's Palace this morning. In fact, I just closed from there, and they told us that they are heeding to the advice of the overlord, and they call VRA. In fact, I was even there when they called them to come for the vehicles, but they are still standing on their grounds that NETCO, or else they won't sit or they won't rest until that is done. The youth also sent a caution to political figures within the northern region, especially within Tamale, that any of them or any one of them who behaves as if the person is also going to support any disrespect towards the overlord of Dagbon, they are not going to accept it, and they are going to deal with that person decisively, being you an MP, a minister, or whatever. They said they are not going to accept anything like that. And according to them, many of the MPs, many of the DCE have been silent on this issue, even though it has been happening for almost a month today. They were expecting statements from those leaders to condemn Engineer Amwa or to condemn his actions, but unfortunately, almost all of them are quiet. But the information I am also picking is that the people that Engineer Amwa was or has reshuffled in his office, some of them have been called to the palace of Bupewura. And the information I am picking is that they are going to beg them to come down, and they will speak to Engineer Amwa to reverse the decision that he has taken.
Dibaba, hold on. I want to understand something. The reshuffle, what exactly is the problem with that process, and that is causing all of these troubles?
According to the information we are picking, someone who was HR manager has been sent to the information or PR department, which everybody, including officers from the NETCO, believe is a demotion. So they are trying to find out why should somebody who is a national HR manager be sent to the PR unit as PR manager or information manager. So they are not ready to accept it according to them, and that is very disrespectful. And unfortunately, the twists that are coming from this issue is the fact that the information we are picking is to the effect that almost all those who have been whom he is reshuffling are Dagombes. And he is filling those positions with people who are not or non-Dagombes. So they are suspecting that there's some sort of ethnic or tribal sentiment in his management of the office, of which they said no, they are not going to accept it. He should explain. But I also picked info that Engineer Amwa wrote a letter reversing his earlier decision, but some powers asked him not to do it, and that is bringing about all this brouhaha. In fact, after the 3 vehicles were seized, the chiefs within Tamale gathered at the Gutana's Palace. In fact, there were about 72 or 73 chiefs gathered and called him, and according to them, it was Yana who asked them to call Engineer Amwa to answer questions to them. But when they called Engineer Amwa, he didn't appear, and he told them that he was sick. That is why he couldn't come. And in fact, they even sent some elders to go to the hospital to confirm this, of which they went to Kamina Hospital, the military barracks hospital, and he was there to receive medical treatment.
All right.
Afterwards, there was information going out that he was being prepared to be flown to France to avoid all what was happening. So the youth said he is trying to continue disrespecting the good people of the Dagbon Kingdom, including the Yana. And for that matter, they don't want him again.
All right. Alassane Dibaba, thank you very much for the update. Alhassan Dibaba is a Northern Regional correspondent, giving us some details with respect to that particular story. Still watching the news updates on Good Afternoon Ghana with me, Desmond Okreku. Let's now go to the Eastern region, specifically Akwatia, and a Member of Parliament for Akwatia North, Samuel Uku, has called for unity within the party to reclaim the Akwatia seat in the upcoming by-election. Speaking at the acclamation ceremony for Solomon Kwame Asumedu as the NPP's parliamentary candidate, Samuel Uku noted that the late MP for Akwatia, Ernest Iyakumi, served with dedication but did not live to enjoy the fruits of his labor.
The New Patriotic Party has acclaimed Solomon Kwame Asumedu as its parliamentary candidate for the upcoming Akwatia by-election in the Eastern region. At the ceremony, Member of Parliament for Akwatia North, Samuel Uku, called for unity within the party to secure victory in the by-election. He described the late Akwatia MP Ernest Iyakumi as a dedicated servant who toiled for the party but did not live to enjoy the fruit of his labor, and urged party supporters and constituents to honor Kumi's memory by voting for Solomon Asumedu. In his address,